we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Mitch Hall Chevrolet in Haskell, Texas. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
I'm here again. I'm about to send a strongly worded email
To StreamYard? Go to Mitch Hall Chevrolet. They got a big special in May. 0% financing on selected groups of people that pay their bills.
It's gonna be May.
All right, with us today from Alberta, Canada, Alberta's fall flight. Andrew, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. Just trying to catch up on some rest here. I guess post snow goose season, it was a bit of a grind this year as always, but yeah, it's nice to be back with the wife and kids and kind of just catching up on stuff for sure. Whenever you come back from the spring, it's like missing that first little everything thawed out and missing that first little bit. And it's just coming back to kind of chaos back at the house, but back for sure, right? So,
how was snow goose season this year?
It was good. Like overall, like we had a lot of birds. It was super warm the whole time, and like it's kind of like right now would be perfect snow goose hunting weather. But we had a couple of, like really hot stretches, like the high 70s kind of for us, and birds move fast. Like it was kind of really spread out. Like really didn't run into a lot of hunters this year just because they were spread across the whole province. It seemed like after the first week of the season, and ours got here kind of super early, and we kind of chased them the whole way across. Right, like we start probably like 10 miles off the Montana border and finish up kind of east of Edmonton. So when we go, it's a full go. But yeah, it was a good season. Like it was probably above average, but not a lot above average. Probably like maybe 10 birds a day above average. So it was good.
All right, my question, we're going to dive right into here, feet first, what I want to talk about.
Okay, you go on ahead.
The American citizen is going to have a hard time hunting in Canada this year, is my opinion. Now, you live in Canada, and you've told me some things, and you've explained to me during the season how hard the reality is. Explain to people that are do-it-yourselfers. What are the chances of them being able to get on places to hunt this year?
We'll see. Like, I sent you that message a while back. It was that was the one and only message that I did get from a farmer this season. Like there's a few that kind of asked and were him and Han about it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's funny. Like I sent Jeff a text, kind of message, a screenshot a while back from one farmer. We hunted on his land all last year and super easygoing guy. And, we can't hide the fact we're guiding up here, right? It's kind of one of those things we have to tell the farmers we're guiding and outfitting. So, I always text the guys first saying, hey, is it okay if I guide a group of guys out on your property tomorrow kind of type deal and have it all set up? And we smashed the ducks on his stuff last year. And it was like almost to the point we were hunting there once or twice a week. So I thought it was just going to be kind of an easy, no big deal kind of text back and forth. First thing he says to me, he said, hey, are you guiding any Americans? I said, well, this week it's a lot of local guys that I'll guide in the spring. Like it's just a lot easier, guys coming and going and stuff like that. And we're always chasing them. It's hard to exactly have Americans when you want them, where you need them kind of type deal to be guiding them. But I was pretty shocked by that. He just said, hey, like, are you going to be guiding Americans? And I said, well, not the next couple of days, but next week I've got Americans in. And he said, you can guide all the Canadians you want on my land, but no Americans. And I didn't want to dig too deep in it with him because you never want to push the buttons too much with farmers. And I just said, hey, like we'll make do with the Canadian guys. And I said, just basically, push back a bit and said, yeah, like, what did I forget even now what I said to him, but just kind of push it a bit to say, hey, whatever. And he was not very thrilled with what's going on just with tariffs, I think, on the grain. And said, nope, those Americans is not happening this year. They already shut down a couple groups that year, I guess, already for spring. And he was dead against it. That being said, he was the only guy. It's definitely, I think over the years, it's gotten progressively tougher and tougher for guys to come up and freelance, especially to compete with local guys. Certain areas are harder than others, for sure. It's just, I was really put off by that one message. And Jeff and I've talked about a bit to where it's going to get progressively tougher, right? Like all the stuff that's happening. And I know like a couple of organizations up here kind of just really, we're trying to, not completely shut it down, but at least limit it a bit, right? To where it just doesn't get out of hand. Like I've got a lot of buddies in Saskatchewan and we have pressure here, but not, sounds like in Saskatchewan, it just sounds like it's getting crazy, right? So, and we went down just last year to two 7-day licenses. So that seems to help a bit, but yeah, we'll see what's in the mess going forward for sure.
My advice to anybody from America that's going to freelance is I would get on the phone, or I'll tell you what.
How you gonna know? Who you gonna call?
Hold on. I tell you what I would do. If I honestly was going up there with some buddies of mine and we were going to spend 5-10 days in Saskatchewan or Alberta or wherever you're going up there, I would get my fat ass in my pickup and I would drive up there. I would fly up there is what I would do and rent a car at Saskatoon or in Calgary. And I would go drive and I would go talk to places, especially if you've done it more than 1 year up there and you have an area. And I would go visit with those farmers to see if you're going to get the cold shoulder and no before I hauled a trailer and all my shit up there.
Send a scout and buy license and everything. So here you can just buy your license over the counter. Can you do that there, or do you have? Surely you can do that there, like a day or two before you start hunting.
You can still buy it over the counter, I think, pretty much anywhere in Canada. Like, it's not a draw system yet. I guess Manitoba did go to that draw, but from what I heard about Manitoba, it's still pretty, like, anyone that applies for the draw can still get the draw and basically still go. But Alberta, yeah, like, we went back when I first started, probably 15 years ago, we used to sell 2 7-day licenses, and they could be consecutive. Like, you could come up here and hunt for 14 days. And then in the last probably 10 years that I can remember, it's been wide open. Like, guys come up here and hunt for the entire season if they wanted under one permit. And then, within the last 2-3 years, we went back to those 2 7-day permits. You come up here, you're going to get that permit, and it's just it's time management on that permit, right? Like, you don't really have to, I would, if I was to come up here, I want to start hunting the first day on that permit, because you guys know how it is. And I think most people do as well. You're going to have to do the work. Like Jeff said, you're going to have to spot and see what's going on. And yeah, I'm sure you're going to run into, it's like, this was happening before the tariffs and before the elbows up BS and all sort of crap, whatever, right? Like, where guys, you can go into certain areas of Alberta and it's just like, good luck, right? And like, I'm local to the area, and there's still certain areas that, like, we're talking big 50-mile blocks that you won't even drive through. And like, yeah, it's loaded up with birds, but you have some people that are anti-hunting, or they let their buddies on and all sort of stuff, right? It all, it's doing that homework ahead of time, right? And like I said, as soon as all this stuff started happening with the tariffs and ever, I did make a lot of phone calls, like, to a lot of my big farmers, and just to see how kind of responsive they were to it. And, most kind of were like, didn't really care, but there is going to be some pushback from some guys. Like, I don't know, you guys have been around there. Jeff has for sure long enough. Like, another outfitter buddy of mine told me there was a big thing like 15 years ago or 10 years ago with the cows, like where they weren't letting the Canadian beef cross into the US. And he said that was a big trigger. Like, that was tough back then. Like, he thinks that one was almost worse than what's going to be coming up. But do you remember that at all, Jeff?
No, but it had to be some mad cow disease stuff.
Yeah.
And it had to be back at least 20 years, I bet you.
Let me look.
Yeah, and he said basically back then it was like 1 in every 4, 25% of your access was not happening just due to that. They were said, screw the Americans. I don't want any American up here. If they don't want our beef crossing the border, then we're not gonna allow that. Like I said, it's still early, right? Like it was still kind of, you don't really probe it too much in the spring, because all we're basically guiding is residents and stuff like that, right? Like, I think I probably did 2 weeks of Americans, so it really don't on a 45 days in the spring. So like, it's kind of like, it's hard to put it for sure what we're going to be looking at for the fall, right?
Yeah, 20 years ago, there were people that went to, when I first got in the hunting business, which would have been in the early 90s, there were people going to Canada to hunt, but it was a very select group of people. It wasn't, well, first of all, you didn't know very many people that had the equipment to do it like they do now. I mean, now there's tons. You can go to a lot of places and see a man that's got an enclosed trailer with all of his gear and stuff. Well, back in the early 90s, there wasn't very many people like that. So the only people that I knew that really went to Canada were the people that were really wealthy, and they were going up and going with a guide service. I know there were do-it-yourselfers going there, and there's probably a lot of them. I just didn't know very many of them. But there also wasn't the internet where everybody was putting shit on Instagram, Facebook, and there wasn't forums and all that stuff. And I think that all started happening in the early 2000s when you started kind of catching on to that. So I'm going to say going to Canada to hunt is relatively something that's happened for people that weren't with guide services in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and this was another outfitter that was more so related to just, he was guiding the Americans, and that's where it was the issue that became aroused by the cows, the mad cow kind of type deal. Not so much the freelancers, but I completely agree. Like, the freelancing's just gotten crazy on hand. I think it's just anywhere you go, right? Even the Dakotas, and like, I know South Dakota's got that draw system in place, and I know, like, we're looking at it or hoping to I don't think you're gonna, in the next 5 years, I'd be hard pressed to see not every province have some sort of another way to limit, guys coming up and freelancing, right? Just because of, like, we talk about all the time, it's just the roadmaps now that are in place for young guys or old guys. Anyone wants to come up to Canada. Like, back when I first started, you showed up on a Friday night at 6 o'clock and you wanted to go scouting, like, good luck. Like, you had your flip phone And, if you wanted to track down a farmer, if he was out in the field, you had to go back to the hotel, look it up in the phone book, and good luck even half the time trying to figure out who that farmer was, because if you showed up at Friday night when the county office was closed, you couldn't even buy a county map up here, right? Like nowadays with this Onyx and iHunter, like everything's at your fingertips, and it's just so easy for guys to come up and say, okay, well, this is this landowner here, and it's super easy for guys right now, right? So it's it's so much more accessible, but in turn now it's caused a lot more pressure, right? It's different landscape for sure.
So Canada is not like North Dakota, where if it wasn't posted, you could hunt it. In Canada, because I couldn't remember when we was up there if we had to ask for permission if it wasn't posted or not.
You had to have permission.
Saskatchewan was kind of like that, I think, just because it's so big and vast there. Like Canada, you got to ask. Like it's just kind of one of those things. In Alberta, especially, like you've got to talk to every farmer before you go. I was just trying to make a habit of just texting. You don't want to be out there. A guy comes to work his field, and especially in the springtime, what we just dealt with in the spring, man. Guys are seeding, guys are spraying, like they're nonstop, right? Literally, our last day of the season, the guy texted me and said, "Hey, are you gonna be hunting out there this afternoon?" And I said, "Yeah, like we were planning on it." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'll go spray another field." He said, "I was planning on spraying that one, but I'll just go another piece." And thankfully, he was super nice about it and stuff like that, because I didn't feel like moving the whole spread just so he could spray. He said, "I'll just spray it in the dark, whatever." So no, that was good. But yeah, it's always good. Like with the Dakotas, and North Dakota just changed that too, didn't they? Like, don't you have to ask now in North Dakota?
You have to have permission. You can do it electronically. Or no. You can post your land electronically besides doing it physical. I don't know that you have to have permission.
I'm not sure,
but I know that they can electronically post it now, where they used to not be able to do it. There's getting to be a lot of people go to Canada on your own. It's going to be a very interesting deal. The border is going to be a pain in the butt getting in and out. It's gotten worse, I know. And then, like I said, if I was a guy and I was doing a do-it-yourself, I would damn sure drive up there and do some. I would rather spend $1,000 to fly up, rent a car, and drive around and visit with people than to haul my ass up there and all my shit and take off work for 2 weeks and get up there and find out that you can only get on 2 or 3 fields and there's going to be 20 other groups trying to get on them same 2 or 3 fields every day.
Exactly. And that's probably what you're going to find out as well, right? You take out 25% of these farmers that are against, the tariff deal, or they're just not happening. And then all of a sudden those other guys are going to have to funnel into where they are allowed to go, right? So those pieces that are kind of the free-for-all ones, like, it's no secret, like a lot of the head rate colonies up here are just kind of like, just go wherever. But yeah, you're going to just be, Canada was never the place where you have to wake up an hour or two earlier and beat guys out to the field and all that sort of stuff, at least not in my backyard. But I've heard the stories sometimes down east there, whatever. But, you're probably going to be running into more and more of that, is my guess, for sure.
It's the North Carolina, South Carolina rule. That's what's doing Kansas and Oklahoma in, and nothing against North Carolina or South Carolina people, but there are tons of people from the Carolinas that go to Kansas and Northeast Oklahoma to duck hunt every year. And they say it's just covered with people from that deal. Well, the locals don't like it unless you own a grocery store, a restaurant, or a hotel, then you absolutely love it. Same with Canada. You go to them little towns and them provinces, they make a living off of hunters. They need that money and that influx of cash coming in.
They do and they don't. We have that argument, not arguments, but we bring it up all the time. Like you got to keep in mind, like COVID kind of really opened up a lot of stuff about like, okay, the little towns matter. The little towns want the business. Like when we just did that spring snow goose stretch, like, you go to a half empty hotel and all of a sudden you bring them 10 rooms a night. They're super happy to have the business. And you go to the Boston Pizza in the parking lot. They're super happy to see the hunters and super happy about that. But like, does the government really care?
No.
Like, it got us down for two years, right, through COVID, kind of one of those things. Like, are they going to bat an eye to it to all of a sudden say, hey, we don't want any Americans coming up here freelancing. Unless you're going with an outfitter, you're not going to be able to come up. And, like people always, I kind of shake my head at it when people bring up the whole Ducks Limited defense and say, oh, well, Americans spend so much money up in Canada, they couldn't shut us down to the border and stuff like that. It's just like, well, a lot of that DU money is sent up here, the Delta money is sent up here it's creating more ducks. Like those ducks eventually make it down to you guys in the flyway. Without that money and without the habitat for them up here, it's just gonna progressively make everything worse for everybody, right? Like down the line kind of type deal. And like, it's just like the COVID thing. Like I don't, for a second, they wouldn't hesitate to shut it down.
No, right? the y'all's federal government doesn't make a lot of money per se off of hunters like everybody in America thinks they do. And I've said it. I believe the majority of outfitters in Canada are American owned. that money stays in America. Now, the guys like you that are Canadian owned, your money is part of the province and they're getting that money. But how many of your competitors are up there American owned are paying taxes in Canada?
Oh, probably not many, right? It's just, it's another topic for discussion where it's just like, how do you, I don't think that us as an outfitting organization can say, hey, so-and-so, I need to see your tax slips for Canada, right? That's pretty private information. You can't say, hey, well, we need to make sure and validate you're paying taxes in Canada, right? Like they have to do bird reporting, right? Everyone has to do a bird report after the end of the season, and it's a pretty detailed bird report. It's how many hunters, how many birds shot morning and afternoon, what area, like what's WMU you hunted in, stuff like that. Like you can kind of correspond their bird reporting to how much volume they're doing and how much money roughly should be, getting paid taxes and how much money is coming and going per outfitter up here. But no, I don't think legally you can even ask for that kind of stuff. And so, but like you said, eventually the Canadian government could just say, hey, like, we're going to shut it down unless you're a Canadian owned outfit up here. Like we even like the prices have slowly increased for an American owned outfit up here that comes up here and hunts. Like I think it's at least 5 times more than what I pay a year. But it's still not substantial compared to the amount of tax dollars I pay a year, right, for all the taxes coming in here versus, a guy that's bringing all the income and just paying taxes in the States, right?
So you said,
yeah, it's one of those things.
You have to a bird report. Do Canadians? I don't understand I don't know how the Canadian taxes work. I know they tax the shit out of y'all, and they say it's socialized medicine and it's the greatest shit in the world, but we all know that's bullshit too. So, but my question is, do you like? When we do taxes, we got to feel we're incorporated. So we do a quarterly taxes, and we have to do it every 3 months, every 3 months. Once every 3 months, we do taxes on that. As a business in Canada, do you at the end of the year do you have to do quarterly reports, or do you do a once a year report?
Once a year. And like I can't dig too much in the accounting stuff. Like I've got not full-time account, but I just at the end of the year I bring them all my stuff. Here's all my my worker slips, however, right? Like that's not I already stress enough keeping the receipts and freaking paying people out, man. I almost need a secretary to do that shit.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But what I'm saying is I wonder if the Americans that are hunting up there have to turn any kind of Canadian taxes. That's what I meant. I know that y'all have to, just like, but in America we have to. Or if they're just claiming their what's the word I'm looking for? Income in America. I wonder if the American guys that are hunting up there are doing it, because if they're not, there's no loyalty for the Canadian government because they're not making nothing off them guys anyways.
No, exactly. Like there might have to be some sort of paper trail. Like there probably has to be some for the guys that are doing it properly. Like I do know a few of the guys that are doing it properly, do the right way. They are paying their taxes up here. They're trying to make a good solid effort of doing it. Like I've had a couple of guys reach out last probably year and say, hey, who's your accountant kind of type deal? Because they don't want to go down that slope and then all of a sudden like the government to step in and say, hey, well, we want to see your taxes, right? If they need to go down that, they want to probably have that backlog of saying, well, no, wait a second, we have been doing that. And I do know a lot of it pertains to work permits, right? So like a lot of, anyone that's coming up here, like shit, I got 4 work permits for this year for guys coming up here to work for me from the States. It's hard finding Canadian guys that, one can blow calls and work for the same amount of money and have that, get up and go every day. Like I've gone through my fair share of, and I'm sure everyone has, of just guys coming up from Ontario or Canadian locals and stuff like that. Like, because it's access is a lot easier. You have to be very careful about who you're letting come in and go and work for you, and who you're showing all your, your properties to and all your spots and stuff like that. So that's one. And like I said, find that good skilled guy. But anyways, back to the work permits, probably these guys just don't want to, when it comes time to apply for work permits, they won't need that paper trail, right? Because the Canadian government's, they don't just hand out those work permits easily. Like it's almost like $1,500 per permit to apply for it. And they do want to see some sort of backlog every year. That they want to see, hey, how you've been paying your guys. And I'm sure that's probably why these guys have been reaching out to say, okay, in case the government ever just step in further and say, hey, before you get this work permit, we want to see your last year's, how much taxes you paid up here in Canada and all that sort of stuff, right? So there is some guys that are doing it probably that way and trying to be a little bit more legitimate on the Canadian side. But there's probably a lot of other guys that just we don't really know or hear about that just cross the border with a couple of their buddies and come up here for a month and outfit, and all the money stays in the U.S., right? So
there's most of them, I know it's that way. And I know some guys running big operations up there, but I know most of them still do all their banking in America. You prepay, you send a deposit in America, you pay before you go to Canada. All money and transactions are done in America. and that way they don't have to do any of that up there.
Do you know how much easier it'd be for me to for deposits and all that sort of stuff? Like every single group, hey, you got Venmo, and like, you know, it's just I was like, no, we don't. We got PayPal, and they're like, oh, I'll have to get my wife to PayPal you or do whatever, and then or send me a wire, right? Like it'd be a lot easier if I just, you know, to keep money in the States. It would be for sure tempting, right, for those guys. So
it's a lot easier. What about landowners getting paid up there? I know a guy that's an outfitter in Canada. I'm not going to say any names, but he's another friend of mine, and we talk about a lot of things. And it's really weird being in the hunting business. You got something in common with anybody that's doing the same thing, no matter what they're hunting, deer, elk, bear, whatever. This guy's a waterfowl guy. He told me that he's got a big chunk of land, and I go, how do you keep people from getting on it all the time? He said, I give them $40,000 a year, American US dollars in cash. I go, no shit. He goes, yep. He goes, and that does it. I said, how do you get that across the border? He said, I FedEx it. But he told me, he said,
could you imagine putting 40K in a FedEx box?
That absolutely.
That around on hand with me, man.
You guys would be shocked how often that happens. There's a lot of cash that gets FedEx.
No, I don't doubt that, but I just mean the balls that it takes. Like, what if it doesn't get where it's supposed to go?
Well, then he'd be nervous. But he told me, he said, I locked down 2 months of hunting exclusively, basically, on 50,000 acres of prime Canadian hunting land, and it cost me $40,000 a year. He goes, that's it. I know what my budget is. I'm spending $40,000. He goes, I don't buy hockey tickets. I don't buy snuff. I don't buy liquor. I buy that. They're loyal to me as long as I pay them $40,000. He said, I don't know how loyal they'd be if I didn't have the money, but they have every single year he's been on this place, and he said that keeps everybody else off. I think it's a good business plan. Smart, unless you get caught.
If it was legal, that's the thing. You know, it's a slippery slope, and like if it's a guy that doesn't have much to lose, right? That's another big thing, right? Okay, if he can risk giving up Canada for 5 years, or if he ever gets caught or pinched doing it, kind of type deal. But the way it is, like, it's no secret. Like I had a big discussion with Fish and Wildlife about it like 2 weeks ago. You know, as soon as a farmer asks for something, or as soon as you offer something in turn for that access, it's 100% illegal. So if you show up and say, hey, well, you know, and I've had it before, where you show up and guys say, well, I want a case of beer for, you know, if you're going to be out there tomorrow, like bring me a case of Bud Light, or not, no one's Bud Light anymore, but bring me a case of Busch. Like, but, you know, bring me a case of Busch. And like, well, I said, I'm going to hunt there either way, right? And they'll say, no. Like, we need that beer for you to hunt there. And I'm like, okay, we'll see you later, right? It's just a slippery slope. There's enough other access around where you don't have to. And like, definitely, we're allowed to go around and show our appreciation after. And like, we'll always say, like, you know, go around Christmas time and say, hey, what do you guys like, you know, like to drink? Or, you know, bring them some case of beer. A bottle here and there is fine. But as soon as they ask for something, and that's how it's written down in the rule. It's direct exchange for access, right? So that's how it's always been played around up here. For him to go and give cash, like there's plenty of guys that are trying to find ways around it. Like I said, it's a slippery slope. Or I've heard of guys paying for to store their trailer there. Or I've heard of guys. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of other examples. Like there's other ways around it, but it's just, I don't know. The sooner or later, it's going to go one way or the other. I feel like up here, like everyone seems to think that like. It's just going to stay this way forever, where guys aren't getting access and like guys aren't getting paid for it. And like the farmers are the ones taking all the risk, and it's unfortunate, like, but it's going to be it's a totally different business model then, right? Like when it does flip that way, if it ever does, like you guys, I'm sure that's, you know, half of your business, right? It's just managing properties down there.
Oh, there's nothing, there's no free hunting in America anymore. I mean, I don't know an outfitter anywhere that's hunting anywhere and not paying to play, but I'm sure this guy's got a relationship with this farmers, and they've had it for a long time, and there's some trust built up. He doesn't want no one else in there. He's happy paying that because he knows he's got this property locked down. He knows that tariffs not bothering it because they're already selling their soul because they're breaking the law. The farmer's not going to tell nobody because they're going to get more trouble than he is. So it's a fair. I'm going to be a dishonest dude. I would do the same fucking thing. Wouldn't you, Andy?
Depends on how good the hunting is.
If the hunting is excellent, he told me.
If the hunting's worth 50K, then 40K is a bargain.
He told me, he said, I hunt it every day. He said, I don't ever have to hunt nowhere else. He goes, I've got enough water holes on this place with feed fields next to it that we got afternoon duck hunting. Once a week, I can go to different places. You know, if you're running 10, 12 people a day, and he's charging $4,000 for a 3-day hunt or $3,000, whatever the going rate is, he pays for that in a 3-day hunt. He's paid for that land in 3 days. The rest of the year he's hunting basically, but he don't have no stress. He don't have to worry. I understand where he's coming from. He has no stress. He leaves where his camp is and he drives within 5 or 10 miles and does all his scouting every day. Don't have to work with nobody else. He don't have to worry about going there in the morning and somebody else being set up in his field. I understand the legalities of it. I understand that. That's the only problem.
You know how much fuel I go through in a season, right? Like just if we're one group alone, it's 2 scouts a day. My fuel, it's you $300 a day in fuel. And like if you can eliminate the scouting fuel, at least eliminate one scouter, you're saving $10,000 right there almost just in fuel. And that's just in fuel. Like then on top of it is wage. Like, then you're saving almost 30 grand right there off of one guy, right? If you didn't have that, like you said, you didn't ever have to worry about that one spot. Like trust me, like if it was the option, you'd find a way to make it work. But for me, it's just like there's too much of there's too much on stake, right? Like I'm sure it's no secret. Like, everything up here is allocated. Like they've kind of narrowed it off where there's not many new outfitters that are coming and going kind of type deal. And like it's become, it's an asset, right? Like you've spent money to pay for it and all these allocations, you built a business. And like for a guy like me, it's just too much to lose to even kind of go down that road, right? But no, it's not the first time hearing of it, right? Like it's just one of those things. And like the problem is like you hit it right on it. It's super hard for enforcement to actually like to move on anything, right? Because you got to get the guy, you got to go talk to the farmer. The farmer's got to give it up, like basically say they got to ask and admit it. Like what farmer do you know is going to admit it? Most farmers are going to tell them to get lost. Any farmer's going to most farmers I've dealt with, fish crops are just, they don't want to deal with it, right? Like it's one of those things they don't want to deal with the hunting aspect of things. Okay, you go on there and hunt, deal with that. They especially don't want to have some guy come into their front door and interrogating them when they want to be doing something else, right? Then they just put an end to the hunting altogether, right? So it's been very it's a touchy subject up here right now for sure. So
the only problem that this guy's ever going to have is if that farmer finds somebody else that wants to give him $80,000.
Or he ever pisses the farmer off, and the farmer wants to self-report or something like that, I guess, too, right? The farmer says, hey, this guy's been coming up here, but the farmer's just as guilty as he is.
Yeah, that farmer's not going to do that because he's indicting himself. The only way it'll do it is if someone comes in and offers him more cash and the farmer is about only the money only. I don't blame the farmer for wanting to get paid for the shit. People rut up your property and everything else, but it's the system up there. Just like when we went and hunted in North Dakota 10 years ago, and we went for a couple of years in a row. We just could go hunt somewhere. If it wasn't posted, you could hunt it. So we would try to ask for permission, but if we found a feed and we sat on it, nobody else showed up and there was no purple post, first thing you want to do is make sure you're the first one there. And one time we hunted a field and it was after the hunt was over, they had a barn and we went by it the day before, nobody was there. Well, I could see a tractor moving around up there. So when the hunt was over, I wanted to come up and thank them for letting us hunt there and, just be polite. And that guy goes, where'd you hunt at? I said, that cornfield down there. Ain't nobody supposed to be hunting down there. It's not posted. Oh, well, goddamn, we're supposed to post that, I guess. I said, yeah, I just want to thank you for letting us hunt there. I said, I came by here twice yesterday, and he was kind of pissy about it. I thought, shit, we didn't break any rules. It wasn't posted. And I was trying to ask. If I'd have went and asked, he'd have told me no, we wouldn't have hunted there. Somebody else probably would have. But it wasn't posted. So that was my last time that I've got to hunt somewhere that you didn't have to worry about asking for permission. You could just go hunt. Now in North Dakota, it's got to be, you have to get permission, or it's got to be, or it's going to have a purple marker on it anyways, probably. But it is
that's like a purple marker on like the Onyx, like on the map or something like that. I guess it's all laid out.
You could do electronic posting in North Dakota also. I don't know exactly how that works, but I'm assuming when you pull something up on Onyx in North Dakota, it will say posted on it. But before, it would either have a sign that said no trespassing, or they just have purple markers around the edges of it. And if they didn't have purple markers, you could drive and do whatever you wanted to do. It's just crazy coming from Texas where everything is private. Everything. There is you go get on somebody's property and you hunt without permission and you've got a gun, that's a felony trespass if they want to make it that way. Wow. So every state is a little bit different on things. And
they're cracking down on our trespass a lot too. Like they just put something new through and like they're trying to really firm it up a lot. And like they have a big problem up here with the deer hunters, right? Deer, antelope, like if it's got 4 legs, it's a problem for trespassing, right? Like, and it's just pretty much, I think almost everything up here that I hunt in, you'd see it posted unless it's headerate land and stuff like that. But the bird hunters up here, it's hard to trespass, right? At the end of the day. But usually, like, you'll run into, like, the last couple hunts of the season we had, even, like, you show up to the guy's property, it's all gated up, no hunting, no trespassing. Like, every single spot there could be a sign. It's all signed up. And, like, I've done it enough times before. I'm like, yeah, what have I got to lose? Like, it's a good shoot. I'll go and stop and talk to the guy. And first thing I said, hey, is like, I know if it's all posted. He's just like, well, it's posted, but what do you want? Like, I said, well, there's a bunch of snow geese out there. And I said, oh, it's snow geese, just go right ahead, right? Like, it doesn't ever hurt to ask guys, but, like, yeah, it's almost, you're not going to find much stuff up here now that's not posted.
Yeah, it used to be that way in Oklahoma with geese. If you were, everything, because they have deer and their deer population's getting bigger, and it'd be, no, you can't hunt. And you call up and say, hey, I want to goose hunt, and there's 5,000 geese in your wheat field. Oh yeah, them some bitches are eating me up, kill them. And they didn't care if you were waterfowl hunting. But what's happened in Texas, when I first, as a kid growing up, you could knock on a door and hunt. Yeah, I grew up in a town of 100,000 people, and I could knock on a door 2 miles outside of town to shoot doves or ducks in somewhere. Nobody would care. You just ask and they'd let you go. Well, as the deer population increased, those people started leasing out the deer hunting, which was all the hunting rights. So it's hard to get on places in Texas because of the deer hunting. Even out here where we are, when I first got in business out here, there wasn't a lot of deer hunting going on. So you could find places to hunt. Locals could go hunt. Hell, locals can't hunt nowhere out here hardly.
Right.
Unless you're on a season lease of some sort, you can't get on because everything's leased up. Everybody from the big cities is coming out here to lease property up. So it's definitely, the deer hunting has changed the waterfowl game just because the access to places has been limited because of the deer hunting. But yeah. I'm really interested to see if things, I've been saying August and September, things will start really leveling out in our economy. I think it's going to be quicker than that now, I think, since China and the U.S. are signing this deal. So in the United States, our economy should be probably by July really start taking off again. I don't know what's going to happen with the Canadian and the U.S. trade agreement. I don't know what's going to go on because y'all just voted in some liberal twat waffle. Yeah. And I don't know what's going to happen with him. I mean, I could see him shutting down the border to Americans just because he's pissed off one day. I don't know that he'd do that, but I really do believe that in the near future, if you're going to go hunt in Canada, you're going to have to hunt with an outfitter, and he's going to have to supply you with guns and ammo.
Yeah, pretty much everyone that's coming up to hunt with us now, I really try and push it, right? Like, my rental fee is just, it's super cheap just for all the guns, just because I'd rather have guys get here and make it across the border than for them to try and bring their gun across. And every time you bring your gun across, you're going to go to secondary. And like, that's my number one tip to guys. If you can avoid bringing a gun across the border, do it, because, it's just, guys can have that DUI from 12 years ago or something like that. Like, I think I had one guy last year that got turned over. Yeah, it was a guy coming up with his kid, his dad, and his buddy. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, I thought you guys were supposed to be for here the whole trip. And there's like, oh no, so-and-so got turned around at the Montana border. And basically they had to drive him back to Great Falls and fly him out of Great Falls. They were there, didn't get until 1 a.m. because of just, they tried to bring guns across, and buddy had a DUI from freaking 10 years ago or 12 years ago, right? And just, usually if you're not bringing a gun across, they'll just kind of not wave you through, but there's a lot, the things go a lot smoother, right? Versus, the guns just always seem to be more and more of an issue. And it's not just DUI, it's everything, right? Like, but that's always the number one.
I think it's always hilarious that the guy that has the gun, that he has to shoot his gun.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter where he's going. Now, God dang it, I've had this gun since 1974, and it means a lot. Dude, it's a freaking gun. It's not like you're not. I can understand guys don't want to hunt except their dog, but it's a damn gun. They got guns just like that. So if you shoot a Benelli, or you shoot a Mossberg, or you shoot a Ruger, or you shoot a Winchester, Remington, whatever the hell it is, there's a gun compatible that outfitter is going to let you shoot. It's a gun.
You're only shooting it for 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're marrying to the damn thing, but you've met those people. Well, I just like to shoot my own gun. Well, it's a freaking gun.
Yeah, you almost need it. Like, I'm trying to get more and more of a set of the Berettas and Benellis. Like, it's kind of like you're either one or the other, what I've found over the years, right? Like, you get the Benelli guys that are pretty hardcore Benelli, and then the Beretta guys are just like to stick to the Berettas. And like, but like, getting back to even just transporting a gun, if you're flying up here, man, like, that's the number one. If the outfitter's supplying guns, and if it's going to cost you $100 to $300 for the trip to rent a gun, man, like, just rent the gun. Like, it's going to save you a lot of grief. Like, do the math, right? By the time you pay for the permit, I think it's like $30 at least for the gun permit to get it through, and then your oversized, checking that oversized bag, there and back, it's at least $50, right? So that right there, you're $140, right? Just rent the gun for sure.
my whole thing about this is like, we have a president and he's trying to level things out, right? We're 36 trillion in the hole, and he's trying to figure out ways to make it a level playing field. And I guess I just don't understand how other countries are pissed off whenever the U.S. is like, hey, no, this has been one-sided for far too long, and we need to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, he was elected to be America's president, not the world.
And I mean, and that's what he ran on too. So for leaders of other countries to be like, well, this is unfair and blah 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 with Mexico and Canada and China and everywhere else, for them to be up in arms, it's like, well, how good are we going to be? You know, if one day our note gets called and we can't pay it, then we're no good to anybody.
No, what Canada's we put ourselves in this position, right? Like, I know last time we talked about how many immigrants are coming here now, and it's just funny. Like, this is a funny story. My wife sells kittens on the side here, and we had some Asian guy, like, Asian is all house.
Oh, God dang. I know where this is going to go, I think.
He didn't buy to eat. It was a kitten or whatever, right? But this guy walks in and we start talking about the towns. He's like, hey, can you believe how big that town's growing? And I'm like, yeah, like, you notice the other town, like right beside Calgary, there's a town called Chestermere. And he's like, yeah, Chestermere's really growing up there. But like, he's like, we stay away from that town. It's too ethnic now for us. So and I started dying and laughing. I'm like, this is an Asian guy in Calgary talking about it's too ethnic for us. Like holy shit, man. Like, it's gotten out, it's crazy. Like, these towns, it's just, there are people showing up every single day, it seems like, and there's not enough homes for them. And it's wild. And like, Canada's just, I guess it's just a free for all now. Like, we can talk about the healthcare. It's just crazy how bad it is. And I've got a couple buddies now that are just trying to kind of get into the States because, how bad it's gotten up here. And yeah, we put ourselves in this position, like, just be so reliant on you guys and however, right? So
so talk about the healthcare, because that's all we ever hear. You get the free healthcare and everything else. So it is not what it's cracked up to be.
It's not free.
It's free healthcare, right? But like, you're paying for all your medication, you're paying for all the other add-ons, right? You need to get a cast, you're paying for your cast and just all that sort of stuff. Like, I forget if we had to. I know, like, if we had, I think if you guys aren't on healthcare and you go have a baby at the hospital, right? It doesn't cost like thousands of dollars if you're not on a healthcare plan and stuff like that. Like, for us, like, both of our kids, it's, we found a nice hospital to have the kids on, free of charge kind of type deal, right? But like, now I've got a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. Like, if we want to go to the doctor here and see the doctor, I literally have to go to the walk-in clinic like a half an hour to an hour early. So we're like the first ones there. And there's a lineup outside that walk-in clinic just to see the doctor, right? And like, because it's free, like, we don't have to pay for anything. But if you're not one of those first people in line, you could be waiting there the entire day. And that's if you even get accepted, right? Like, if you don't get accepted there, like, then it's just like, good luck. Then try again tomorrow, right? It's just like, well, shit, I got a sick 2-year-old, like, he's not sleeping, it's freaking ear infection, whatever, we need to see a doctor now. And okay, you don't get into that walk-in, then then you're going to go to the emergency room, and like, God knows how long, there's wait times in the emergency room. It's like, it's a 10-hour wait, right? It's just, it's not what it's been like. It's not the system that I grew up on, for sure, right? But that's what happens when you let in all these people and you don't have the new additional doctors and new facilities and all that sort of stuff, right? Like, there's just that huge like lag right now in between. So yeah, it's free, but we looked it up. I think one of our kids now is trying to get like a tube or something like that in the ear. And like, my wife was looking it up. It's like, we're about ready to drive to the States and just pay for it, because it's just like, okay, you got to wait three months to see an ENT. And then the ENT, once you see them, if they say that surgery is okay, then you might be waiting upwards of a year for that surgery.
Good Lord. And I'm not saying that America has a healthcare system figured out either by any stretch of the imagination. So I mean, I'm not poking at the Canadian system, because our healthcare system's pretty fucked up too.
But we don't pay every month for one that we can't use,
right?
And that makes
no. I can take my sick kids to a doctor and get in. I can call that morning and be there for lunch.
Yeah. What about like y'all's ERs? Like that, and that's one of the problems that our military has socialized medicine. Basically, and someone in the military it's not socialized by God. It is a socialized system, because if you're in the military, you can go to the doctor, you can go to the ER, whatever. I went to the ER on base in Wichita one time over a broken finger, and I figured, shit, I'm gonna be here, and that's where they made me go. And my finger was broke. And I figured I'm gonna be here for 3 or 4 or 5 hours at least over a broke finger. Well, hell, I was within 5 minutes, and this place was packed. And I was like, what? And I'm serious. I wasn't there 5 minutes, and I asked the lady. I said, what is going on? This place is packed. How do I get in so fast? She goes, oh, those people just have runny noses and coughs and colds. But she goes, they come here because they don't want to have to go make an appointment at the clinic, so they come to the ER. And that's what's happened in America is people go to the ER that's got every problem in the world that doesn't have insurance over little things. But we have that outlet that they don't ever talk about that you can go to in America. When we go to Canada, I don't see anybody that looks like a Canadian. If you watch an old Canadian World War II movie, the Canadians all look the same. They either look like Eskimos, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word anymore, or they look like just a regular white Midwest farmer. Well, me and Andy were in Calgary 2 years ago or last year, and I didn't see anybody that looked like an Eskimo or looked like a white guy. Everybody looked like they was from Pakistan, Bangladesh, or India.
We talked about it last time. Like, I think about half of my groups of Americans last year literally said to me, it's like, Andrew, like, we landed in Calgary, thought that, I think you touched on it, like, you think we're in the wrong place. Like,
Yeah.
you landed somewhere else, right? Just like, no, this is Canada. Like, the airport's a lot nicer. Like, the airports are top notch. And, you know, they just redid that Calgary airport. It's a beautiful airport to kind of, if you have to linger around places and stuff like that. But yeah, good luck trying to find any staff that's just Caucasian in there, man. Like,
There's none. My ticket lady at American Airlines, that's what she told me on our flight home. She told me, she goes, I've lived here my whole life. And she goes, I don't even recognize it anymore.
No, that's, well, like, I kind of played this Asian guy. It was so funny. Like, I called my one Asian buddy. I'm like, he's like, man, that's how we all feel now. It's just like people that grew up in Calgary, it's not the same. They're letting in everybody. And it's not just here. Like, it's all across Canada. Like, you know, we're pretty lucky. Like, okay, we're 45 minutes from Calgary, but we're pretty rural still. Like, our town, like, it really hasn't been taken over, I want to say, or like, it's, I don't know if we're allowed to, but like, you know, it's kind of one of those things. It's just like, we're fortunate here, and I'm sure it's just kind of the same. You get to Saskatchewan and northern Alberta and stuff like that, but anywhere it's close to those city centers, man, like, it's just it's crazy. They've all moved into there, and yeah, it's wild.
What is what is y'all's laws on? Because I keep reading Alberta sent a delegation to the to DC. They want to join the United States. I don't know that the United States, if we need a 51st state, if I was going to take one, that might be one of them. But I damn sure don't want to take any state that's going to give us a damn liberal senator or a congressman. And I don't think that Alberta would, but Calgary might, the biggest population center. Can y'all actually
see Calgary, but it's pretty close.
Can you leave? Can y'all leave the Canada? Is that doable? Because like West Virginia can't leave the United States. Texas can't leave the United States. No state can leave the U.S. It's not permitted. It's not. Trust me, if it is, we would give y'all California and New York City.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask the Queen.
It'll be really interesting what comes to light. Like, our premier right now seems to be kind of like, where it's this hurry up and wait right now to see what's going on, because she is starting to get, you know, the movement's rising to where it's just, you have all these conservatives in Alberta now. It's what we're looking at 12 years in a row is probably, by the time this is all said and done, a liberal government, right? A liberal government that, like, they just said 2 days ago or yesterday that they said that they're not even going to put on a budget this year. Like, they're not going to put out, they're just going to do what they want and just keep spending money, and they're not going to show the budget even for a year. And it's just like, what? Like, they're just going to keep spending. And like, people in Alberta are tired of it, right? Like, and then they cripple Alberta because they don't want to do anything else with oil and gas, but then they want us to spend $20 billion a year out east for all these equalization, like, whatever it is, the payments and stuff like that. A lot of people are getting tired of it. Like, so, well, I don't really know. Like, it seems like everyone you talk to, everyone's got a different opinion and different, you know how it is, like a different voice on it. And so, oh, we can move. This is it. And then all of a sudden the First Nations come out and they say, oh no, you can't separate. And all of a sudden there's just it's a lot of news right now. And like, you know how it is with the news. Like, you can't believe half of it. It'll be really interesting to see what comes to light in the next, like, 6 months, really, I guess. Like, I don't think that the 51st state thing is the thing. I think that if anything, she wants to kind of just make Alberta a little bit more independent from Canada. You know, like, they're already now trying to kind of, like, there was talk on the table to kind of slowly get phasing out the RCMP force and get our own provincial one. Just stuff like that, right? Like, just get more independent to where you can at least stop those equalization payments and get them a little bit more, realizing that, like, hey, Alberta, we need Alberta. We need to work with Alberta versus the opposite, right?
What are they getting checks for?
Like, what do you mean, the 20 billion equalization?
Yeah, what is that exactly?
I think just it's for the overall growth of the Canada, right? Is when it'd be like, okay, you got 20 billion surplus in Alberta, so let's send it down east because
that's bullshit.
Same industry, right? Not same industry here. It's like we have all the oil and gas that comes through Alberta, right? So when Ontario had the auto industry and mining and everything like that, but which they're probably going to be. It sounds like a lot of auto industry is phasing out of Ontario as well now, right? So
Toronto, who hates oil and gas, a bunch of bunny huggers and granola crunchers are wanting to spend y'all's money from y'all's oil and gas from that greedy oil and gas business and world.
No, they already do.
And they're getting y'all's money for that.
2017, 2018, 18 billion.
Yeah.
And then like you said, 22, 23, it was 22 billion. And then 24, 25, 25 billion.
Okay, let's trade them Seattle, Portland, and California, and we get Alberta. I'd be all about that shit.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see more and more Albertans on par. Like obviously, it's hard to sway a liberal, but you are starting to see more and more liberals sway to the other side and say, listen, like we look at the healthcare, look at our the crime's gone way up. Like there's just so many the main factors right that comes into play there, and just we'll see what happens here. Like he's got essentially this new guy's got 18 months, right? Like if something doesn't go his way because he's got another minority government, and the last one that was kind of holding us back, it's not there anymore because they didn't really do anything. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, that's interesting times we're living in. That's for damn sure. And
it's just crazy that everything has come to a head all over basically the Western world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I can't think of one place on this earth that I would move to if I had to leave the United States. And even if I was in Canada, I mean, that's the devil right? So it's like, where is the shining place on the hill that has everything figured out right now? And you can't pick a place.
Are we saying that you financially have money where you can live comfortably and like retire? Or are you talking about going to start as a young person and start a world and a life in a different country?
Yeah, like 23 years old and like going to pack up and just go somewhere else.
Like at my age, if I could afford and I had a bunch of money, but I couldn't live nowhere else because my grandkids are here, but I want to do that, I would go to Mexico just because I like Mexico and you can live really good without spending a lot of money.
You got the cartel down there. They'll chop your head off.
No. Well, there's places in Mexico. You're relatively safer than you are there being in freaking Dallas anymore, Chicago. But as a young person to start a family and move my family to another country, I can't think of another place.
Well, I mean, just everything, the freedom of guns that we have, and I mean, you can't go to Mexico and have a whole.
You're right.
You can't have a gun safe full of guns down there.
Like this gentleman right here. You can you carry a pistol?
Oh no.
See,
no, you can't leave your house now. I think even with a pistol, like you're still allowed to own a pistol, but. It's been a while. I don't know if you can even go to the range with a pistol anymore.
Oh no shit!
I got one in every vehicle.
You might be able to, but if you go to the range with a pistol, it's got to be like logged, right? Like this is 2 or 3 years ago, prior to the last rules that went through. I've never had one up here, but like I know, like if you got caught with that pistol moving it from one place to like point A to point B without having that reported logging, basically, and the only place you're able to go is from your house to a designated range, and then back from the range to your house, right? So if you got caught stopping at McDonald's, pretty sure like don't like quote me on it, but like that you're in a lot of shit.
Well, I'd be screwed big time.
So what do you do for like personal protection? Just pray nothing happens?
Use condoms.
That's it. Just bear spray and high fence. Like, I don't know. Like, you're kind of but like, that's it really. Like, thankfully the crime isn't like that. I've never been at a point in my life where I'm in Canada. I'm like, well, I really, maybe if I had that privilege, I would be like, oh, I really wish I had my handgun. But like, I've never been to somewhere where here I'm like, oh, I really kind of wish I had some sort of protection. Like, typically you go downtown, it's just more of a problem with just crackheads and, dope heads versus freaking, guys coming to rob you or anything like that. It hasn't been a problem yet. Who knows what it's going to be like.
Do they have gangbangers like in Montreal and Toronto and Vancouver? They've got to.
They would have a bit, but not impactful enough to where you kind of like, if you're walking downtown at night somewhere, some of these places, like we went to, you could almost compare like downtown, I think it's Seattle where my wife and I went like 5 or 6 years ago, like downtown Seattle would be like a lot like downtown like Vancouver. And like if you went right in the heart, downtown Calgary, it's been a while for me or something like that. But these big city centers where like most of your problems just, you're stepping over like just junkies and needles, right? Well, you're not going to have to be like, keep your pockets tight. You're not going to worry. I can't, maybe it doesn't make the news, but like I don't hear a lot about like people getting carjacked and stuff like that in Canada. Like people will steal your vehicles, but not with you in it, kind of type deal.
I was just in Seattle 3 weeks ago, in downtown Seattle, and I wasn't worried about someone fucking carjacking me or some gangbanger. I'd be more worried about someone trying to grab you by your dick, and that'd be another guy grabbing you. That's what I'd be worried about. So
San Francisco, you were though.
San Francisco, I was scared to freaking. No. I wasn't scared of getting hurt physically. I just was afraid of someone bashing my windows out and stealing my shit, and then me shooting them ass there because I had a gun on me. And that was my biggest fear, is I'm going to get in trouble here because I can't sit there and watch somebody steal my shit and not do nothing. That's what I was scared of. I wasn't scared about physically someone hurting me in San Francisco. It was just that. But man, I don't. We take for granted being able to take a gun for stuff, but there's one in every vehicle we own. Every time I have a bag on me, if I'm going somewhere, I've got a gun in it. And you know what? That fucking gun is so dangerous. It had never shot nobody. It's a person that shoots somebody. It's not the freaking gun, but I like to have it there. If we're out of town at a motel somewhere in America, I love having a gun at the hotel room just in case you just never. I would hate for something to happen and know,
oh shit, my gun's in the truck.
Why didn't I put my gun in my bag?
Right.
Yeah. Like me and Andy, we were somewhere we were at Disney on Ice.
Yeah.
And I asked Andy, I go, do you have your gun on you? And you didn't.
It was in the car though.
Right.
But I couldn't carry inside the arena. If I could have carried in the arena, I would have.
Right. And it made sense why you didn't. We went through a metal detector too. But I mean, that's Disney on Ice in Fort Worth at 3:00 in the afternoon. But anytime I'm in a crowd, you just never know what some dipshit's going to do. I mean, hell, they go into churches and shoot them up. But
oh yeah, they do, and like it's people think that it's not an issue in Canada, right? Like the U.S. population is way more, we have way more people. Yeah, you have more easier access to guns and stuff like that, but it still happens up here. You just don't hear about it as often, right? Like it's just one of those things, and people are kind of defenseless here, right? Like that's the problem. It's just if it does happen here, a guy can just keep on going, right? Versus down there, you're looking over your shoulder. Who's going to be by that's got a gun and can kind of stick up for themselves, whatever. But if it happens here, you're defenseless essentially, right? If someone breaks in their house, okay, technically, like. I'm pretty sure if it's behind my locked door, I definitely am allowed to have a gun, like that's not locked or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, I got to run underneath my, grab one from underneath my bed and pull it out. And all you're going to have is a shotgun, right? At the end of the day, a shotgun or a rifle or something like that, but never a handgun, man. If someone was to break into your house and you shoot them with that handgun, they're going to be stomping on you and say, well, why did you have your handgun out of your safe? Right? Like you can't, like, it can't even, I don't like, even if you were doing the 100% right thing, you're still not, you're not really supposed to be using it in self-defense, right? And even in Canada, you'd still get probably, kind of bent over a bit if you're using your shotgun and a rifle as self-defense, right? They'd still be kind of like, well, why did you do that? Like, why? When it's crazy how it's been going. Like the Liberals have not been good, and just they keep kind of stepping on like the rightful gun owners and the guys that aren't causing a problem and just they're not really going after the hard criminals as they should, right? It's just kind of like a catch and release system, and it's wild.
I'll tell you one of the things that makes me nervous about the world we live in right now is the amount of mosques that are being built in our countries. That is bad news. And I'm going to say that, and people, oh, you sound like a racist. I don't give a shit. They're bad people. There's nowhere in the world that the Muslims go in that makes the world a better place. Nowhere. I mean, you can go through history, you can go wherever you want to. And Europe is a perfect example of that right now. London, I think, has got a Muslim mayor. They got neighborhoods the cops can't go into. They're not safe. And it's going to be that way everywhere until we get a handle on them. And I don't know if they will ever get a handle on them. They are taking over. I thought in Dallas, they've built 30 new mosques in the last 2 years in Dallas, Texas. And shit, when I was in Calgary and everywhere I've been in Canada, there's more Muslims than there are anybody Christians anywhere. And it's bad.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. How many you just see them popping up everywhere, and like I said, like even all these communities that are outside of the big cities and stuff like that, just see them pop up. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like it's kind of now what it's Conor McGregor's running right for
Ireland.
Minister, like, right. It's good to see how that plays out there, and like you are starting to see pushback, but like I feel like you guys will be on time, but like I don't know if Canada will be hit at time enough for pushback. Like, and I got friends that are named Muhammad and like some of these guys like that are just have you become buddies with them over the years and stuff like that kind of have assimilated a bit better. And however, but the new ones coming across, man, they're hard true to their beliefs, and like it's gonna be one of those things to see. But like you look at Europe, a couple of spots, and I seen some videos of the Sweden prime minister, it's a lady or whatever. I don't know what you call her, but she basically said, "Hey, if you're moving here, you're not building your churches. You're assimilating, like you're learning our culture, or you can basically piss off, right?" So
yeah, I saw a video yesterday of a guy that's a Muslim guy, and he said it's absolutely my right to give my daughter at 9 years old to a man for marriage if that's what I want to do. What kind of sick bastard thinks that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, that's just absolutely freaking nuts.
What kind of deal did he get for
her? That's not even funny, Andy, because you would never sell your kids
6 or 7 cows.
No, you've got 2 nieces. Could you imagine someone fucking telling that shit? First of all, big old fat judge would kill some
That's
bitch.
all that they know, though.
No. This guy lived in America.
Yeah, but
bullshit.
That's their culture. That's how they've been brought up. They don't know any better.
Well, he can take his goat fucking ass back over there. Then
he can, but I'm just saying that is their culture, and I mean maybe he got a sweetheart deal for it.
That's so terrible to say.
Mansion?
That to me giggled. I don't give a shit what it is, and it is his culture.
Gold line
but keep
toilet?
your culture over there. You know.
Okay, now that I can agree with, but
keep your culture over there.
You're just saying that you can't see how he would do it. Yes, to us it does not make sense. It also does not make sense to us sacrificing a goat and burning it so that the smoke rises to the gods so you can get rain on your corn. But they did that a long time ago.
People in Nebraska might do that tomorrow.
They might do that tomorrow. It doesn't make sense to throw a virgin into a volcano, but they did it in St. Lucia.
Your point is taken, but this is 2025.
I understand.
And to do that and to honor kill your daughters and all the other shit that they do, they are vile people and they are bad news. And I'm sure there are some very good, nice Muslim people out there, but a lot of them are not, and their beliefs is not for the modern world. And to be killing your daughter. What's funny is when you see these gay people that are like gays for Palestine and gays for Hamas, they're going to take your gay ass and throw you off of a building. They can't stand gay people.
If you're lucky, that's what they're going to do.
Or they'll set you in a cage on fire.
Yeah, they'll burn your ass.
Yeah. And you're sitting there fighting for them. It's like the women's rights deals with all this transgender bullshit, you know. We're for women's rights. So you're going to let a boy beat your daughter's ass at a track meet.
I saw in California they didn't participate.
Did you see that guy? Oh, no. They did
booed him.
Did you see what the guy said? That's a man. That's a man. One guy said, "That's my daughter out there." That's a man's man. That ain't no damn daughters.
Your daughter's
got a penis.
Yeah. I don't know. Like that just goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like there is nowhere in this world that has everything just right. I mean, maybe one of the Norwegian countries, maybe the Netherlands.
That's what I was going to say. Sweden, something like that.
They're getting somewhere. Poland. I think Poland has zero immigration.
That'd be where you want to go, I guess. But you can't get there because it's zero immigration. They're not taking us.
It's a clean, beautiful place too.
I'm sure it's because they don't let anybody in.
Yeah, but I was absolutely shocked. Alberta is a beautiful, beautiful place, but I still didn't see one son of a bitch there that's from Canada. It's like going to Atlanta and trying to see a white person. There's not very many of them. Calgary, I could not find a Canadian in Calgary, but by God, I could find a hookah lounge. I could find some goat. I mean, you can find whatever you wanted there, but you wasn't finding no freaking was poutine or whatever it was where we were at in Alberta, in Calgary.
Okay, I guess it's one of those things. We'll see. Like, hopefully, we get after it, but who knows? Time will tell. Like, yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
I just hope your kids and grandkids don't pay the price for us bending over. Both countries bending over and appeasing everyone else instead of standing up for what we believe in. And I hope that we're not past the point. Canada, I think, is in big trouble. The United States, some of our liberal states are in big trouble. But hopefully there's going to be enough of us that we can keep it maintained. So anyways, before we get off of here, what if you were an American citizen and you were coming up to freelance, would you be nervous this year?
A bit, yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's probably a good idea. Make some calls before you come up and do all sort of stuff. And I definitely would be. Like, we'll see. And like you said, it's a long time between. Well, I guess we're only looking at 3 or 4 months in between now and then. But yeah, it's gonna be there's gonna be a changing landscape ahead. I think for a lot of guys, for sure.
What about if you're an American who owns an outfitters up there in Canada? Would you be nervous? Because I would be more nervous there than I would be as an.
It's become more and more of an issue, right? Like it's kind of one of those things. And the problem is with some of the guys I know have made good friends, and some of them have made kind of a lot of enemies as well. But like, you're going to be one of those things. Like it's going to be tougher and tougher for sure. And then the problem is if you're an American ran outfit and you're up here, like what's going on in the other 9 months of the year where you're not up here, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that, see what happens and what plays out there. So.
Better send that FedEx money full of cash, envelope full of cash to keep you on the property.
Fuck, I'd be nervous.
But I would be a nervous. Well, yeah, you would be anyways. But I'd be nervous about being outfit up there. Well, hey man, we appreciate you being on here. Take some time out of your day, and I appreciate back and forth the messages. You keep me abreast of what's going on up there, and I do appreciate that very much.
Hopefully next time I have this StreamYard figured out.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Sounds good. Well, it's good being here.
Hey,
Perfect.
Thank you. God bless you. Be safe. Take care.
Good luck. Give them hell this fall.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll
Thank
talk
you.
later.
Bye. Very interesting. Canada's I'd be nervous. Me and Stacy Coker were talking about that the other day about being an outfitter up there, be scared to death right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different world that we're in right now.
Would you want to go on a trip up there to try to go hunt and drive?
No, but I didn't want to before all this happened. That's the difference between.
For somebody that hates traveling, you sure travel a lot.
I know. I travel too much. Is what it is. That's the problem.
Are you looking forward to next week?
Yeah, I mean it'll be fine. It's for the kids, and I understand that. But yes,
I actually am looking forward to it.
I do not like traveling.
Outside of the airport issues, which hopefully we won't have any time, I look forward to this trip. It's going to be fun with the grandkids. All right. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful week. Got a couple of hunts coming up, or some different hunt packages available. Holler at me. We've got a special package coming up in January. It's going to be duck, goose, and cranes. 940-658-3172. Thank you. Peace. Bye.
Watch for deer. Go check out all of our sponsors. Go check out Ducks Unlimited, Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Mallard Bay, Mitchell Chevrolet, Stanfield Outfitters, Mossberg, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Shin Gear, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Use our promo code BHP25, and Boss Shot Shells.